how fast does it take to sell your home and actually close on it and get your money in your bank account? Okay, so those are three different things. Selling your home is number one, closing on it is number two, and actually getting your money in your bank account are three different scenarios. So the first scenario, selling your house. If you list your house with a realtor, generally speaking, in my opinion, it takes anywhere from 30 to 60 days to sell your house. That's going to be a house that is not a fixer-upper. You're selling it in a normal neighborhood, and you're waiting for the highest and best offer from a regular buyer, such as a couple who's going to move into the house and live in there. Now, with an investor and even with the realtor, if the house is priced correctly, in my opinion, it should sell between 2 to 3 weeks. Now, that is just selling a house. Closing on the property is a whole different can of worms. Now, let me tell you what goes into closing a property. So, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to sign a purchase agreement. Once you sign a purchase agreement, most likely it's going to be sent to an attorney or an escrow officer that's going to handle the paperwork. Now, the reason that you need an escrow officer or an attorney to handle the paperwork in a real estate transaction, they have to verify that you, the seller, are the actual owner. I've had people inherit houses. They think they fully own the house, come to find that they have a cousin that have rights to that property. Or another scenario, somebody is trying to scam and say they own a property, but they really don't. Or the person owes taxes or has child support liens, and those are attached to the house, and you cannot sell the house without covering those liens. So that's why you need an attorney or an escrow officer to research that. The other side is you also need to verify the buyer and make sure the buyer is also legitimate. Another scenario is they're the ones who transfer the money. So the money goes from the buyer to the escrow officer or the attorney, and then they give it to you, the seller. Okay? The reason you want that is you don't want to sign off your deed and you never get the money for your property. Or on the other side, the buyer doesn't want to give the money and never get the property. So that's the reason you need an escrow officer. Now, how fast can an escrow officer actually close on a property? I've heard this from the horse's mouth. It can be closed in 1 day, right? It's actually possible. However, the reason it doesn't happen is because the escrow officer, I'm just gonna start saying escrow officer for the sake of this video. You can substitute it for an attorney. The reason it takes longer is most houses have a mortgage on it, and you're gonna have to call your lender, let's say Bank of America, Chase, whatever, and get a loan payoff, right? The escrow officer needs to know how much is owed on the house so that when you get the money, make sure the bank is paid and you get the balance of what's left after you pay the mortgage. So that's one scenario that takes long. Generally, banks are going to take 3 to 5 days to respond. But if it's all cash, then it can go quicker. Another scenario is, for example, like I said, somebody inherited the property, they didn't have a proper will, so you have to do what's called an affidavit of heirship. An affidavit of heirship is a document that's basically going through the chain of title and verifying that you are the rightful owner. And another thing that takes longer is simply scheduling. Let's say the escrow officer asks for information from you, and let's say she asks for it in the morning and you don't give it to her in the evening. She's probably not going to be able to do anything with that information until the next day because business is already closing. And also, let's say the escrow officer is working on 40 to 50 files and you're the 50th file, and let's just say they don't get to it right away. They're always working on it because they have a system, assistants, and processes to get it done in a speedy fashion, but they just have to go through the paperwork. Also, another thing that may take longer is if your property is in a small county, sometimes they have to request county records, and small counties might take a longer time, even larger counties. So that's the reason it takes longer. Now, another thing you can do to sell your property same day is do what's called a quick claim deed. That's when you go to the county clerk, you just write up a deed and you sign it over to the buyer. You just write up a deed and you sign it off to a buyer. The reason I don't recommend that is because just like I said, as a buyer, We want to make sure that you, the seller, is a rightful owner, and we want to make sure there's no liens attached to the property that now we're responsible for because we bought it without title insurance. So now you've closed on the property. How long does it take to get your money in your account? If you opt for getting a wire, you'll get the money same day. Generally speaking, actually, matter of fact, escrow officers do not give you cash. It's going to be in the form of a check or a wire. If you want to get a wire, you can go pick it up same day at the escrow officer, or you can have them overnight it to you. Now, the thing about getting a check, which I recommend getting a wire, is you're getting a large amount of money. Let's say you sell your house for $150,000 and you show up to the bank with a $150,000 check. Even if it's the same bank, sometimes they might hold funds to verify that you are the rightful owner of that check.